Emausaurus. Emausaurus is a genus of thyreophoran or armored dinosaur from the early Jurassic, Toarcian. Its fossils have been found in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, northern Germany. Emausaurus is the only known Toarcian thyreorphoran, and it is also the only dinosaur from the Ciechocinek Formation with a formal name. Discovery and naming. The type and only species, E. ernst, was named and described by Hartmut Haubolt in 1990. The generic name is composed of an acronym of Ernst Moritz Arndt University of Greifswald and Greek Soros/Sigma Alpha Upsilon Rho Omicron Sigma, lizard. The specific name is derived from the name of geologist Werner Ernst, who acquired the fossil, holotype SGWG85, in the summer of 1963 from Foreman Werner Wallen at a loam pit near Grimmen, in strata dating from the Toarcian. It is known by the right side of the skull, the right lower jaw, caudal vertebrae, neural arches, a radius, a metatarsal, a claw, fragments of ribs, scutes and plates, known as Emausaurus SGWG85. Description: Emausaurus was probably a semi-bipedal to quadrupedal animal, being covered on armor of osteoderms across the body. Like other thyreorphora, probably was herbivore, concretely a low-dwelling one, with a diet more related with ground flora, such as cycads and bentnetitails. The body length of the holotype of Emausaurus has been estimated at around 2.5 meters, with a weight of 70 to 90 kilograms. This was based on a juvenile individual, though adult length has been estimated at 3 to 4 meters, with a weight up to 240 kilograms. Most of the reconstruction has been based on Salidosaurus, although it is possible that Emausaurus was a more bipedal animal, as some of the young specimens of Salidosaurus were thought to be. Adult forms probably were more quadrupedal. Armor includes 3 conical scutes and 1 tall, spiny element. David Norman in 2019 examined the morphology of Salidosaurus, comparing it with Emausaurus. In Emausaurus the maxilla has, overall, a similar morphology to that seen in Salidosaurus. The disarticulated maxilla of Emausaurus exhibits an anteromedially directed robust process with which it met its counterpart in the midline, creating a wedge-like structure, with no obvious offset between the alveolar margins. In Emausaurus the structure of the frontals is not well preserved. In outline, its proportions resemble those of Salidosaurus, but the same is true of many Ornithischia. The lacrimal bone of Emausaurus is incomplete, but includes a long, curved jugal process that evidently wrapped itself around the anterior tip of the jugal. So little is known of the postcranium Emausaurus, recovering parts like a multipartite odontoid, sutured to the axis centrum, similar to that of Salidosaurus. Emausaurus has a series of assigned osteoderms, but lacks like Scutellosaurus scapular osteoderms. The major series of osteoderms found appear to come from the tail or the dorsal section. Classification. Cladistic analyses showed that Emausaurus was a basal member of the Thyreophora, more derived than Scutellosaurus, but less than Salidosaurus. Salidosaurus, Emausaurus and Scutellosaurus cluster at the base of most trees because they can be scored for only a restricted number of anatomical characters. The cladistic status of the specimen is relatively controversial due to its young nature. Clearly it is a member of the Thyreophora, but its position can change by the time, if an adult specimen is found. Emausaurus can be more derived than Salidosaurus, or even be a sister taxon to Stegosauria. The major consensus has put Emausaurus as a non-Euripidan stem thyreophoran, along with Scutellosaurus and Salidosaurus, reinforced by almost all subsequent systematic reviews of Ornithischian thyreophoran relationships. Being Emausaurus and Scutellosaurus more basal than Salidosaurus, Emausaurus has been put on an outgroup to Ankylosauria, with Salidosaurus and the basal Stegosaur Huayongosaurus. 7. Vicarius et al. 2004, did the default phylogenetic analysis for in-group Ankylosaurs, due to including cranial and postcranial characters, a wide range of taxa, and made no in-group relationships, although this analysis used the holotype Lasotosaurus and Huayongosaurus as outgroups, ignoring Salidosaurus and Emausaurus. On 2020, Norman et al. By studying Salidosaurus found that along Scutellosaurus and Emausaurus both are positioned on the stem of Ankylosauria, rather than on the stem of Thyreophora, with Emausaurus as the basal sister taxon to Salidosaurus. This is because Emausaurus possesses a dorsal margin of the dentary sinuous and lateral view and neither elongated nor squat proportions of metacarpal 1 medium. Alternatively, Emausaurus can be basal sister taxon to Scutellosaurus, but taking the similarities between Emausaurus and Salidosaurus is more unlikely. The Norman study is resumed on paleoecology. Emausaurus has a sinuous jaw profile, more advanced in ankylosauromorphans, unlike the rectilinear morphology seen in the more basal genus Scutellosaurus. The changes on the jaw is considered a series of modifications due to changes on the diet and evolution of the food processation of this dinosaurs, where it seems to be adapted to eat coriaceous flora, such as bennetites and cycads, abundant on the Ciechocinek Formation Lublin coal basin. The rest of the skeleton of this genus is poorly presented, with for example the vertebrae showing no evidence of the proportional changes in the height of the neural arches and spine seen on Stegosaurus. The animal was covered on osteoderms. Altruist, the few found give no indication of how extensively they were distributed across the torso. Emausaurus, based on the proportions of the preserved metacarpals that the forelimb shows adaptations for weight support, rather than grasping, having ungulophalanges that are conical and only slightly decurved. The partial known proximal pedal phalanges are short and block-like, with near the same proportion seen in the pes of Salidosaurus. A series of characters that together are suggestive of graviportality and quadrupedality, mauling Emausaurus a low-roaming herbivore. Pseudobipedality isn't discarded, with the genus able to reach slightly taller flora. Paleo Environment. The holotype of Emausaurus was found on the so-called Emausaurus type site, from the Ciechocinek Formation dating from the lower Toarcian, Danuagostatum. This is a boundary composed by bituminous shale, that represents an ancient seashore environment, probably lagoonal, and it is contemporaneous of the Posidonia shale of southern Germany. Fossil wood has been found on the same location, including driftwood and other related to the Araucariaceae, present in other European environments of Toarcian age. Of the invertebrate fauna, insects, bivalves, sea snails and ammonites, genus Tiltoniceras, Eleganticeras and Lopolidoceras, have been found. The vertebrate fauna is also varied, with fossils of the fish genus Saurorhynchus, and the new genus Griminichthyes and Grimenodon. Reptile fossils include Ichthyosaurian indeterminate Plesiosauria, Romeliosaurid plesiosaurs, indeterminate Mesoiu crocodilia, probably Goniophilidae, indeterminate Thalatosarchia and at least two Gravosaurian sauropods.